List of 50 important questions related to Playwright, a popular open-source automation tool for web testing. Here's a detailed explanation of the questions related to Playwright, along with code examples where applicable. 1. What is Playwright, and how does it differ from Selenium? Playwright is an open-source automation tool developed by Microsoft that is designed to automate modern web applications across different browsers, Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. It offers a unified API for handling browser automation, and it is known for its speed and reliability. Differences from Selenium: browser support. Playwright supports Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit, whereas Selenium supports a wider range of browsers including Internet Explorer and Safari. Native support for headless mode. Playwright natively supports headless mode for all browsers, which allows running tests without a graphical user interface, GUI. Parallel testing. Playwright is built with parallel testing in mind, which can lead to faster test execution compared to Selenium. API design. Playwright provides a more modern and developer-friendly API with support for advanced features like network interception and automatic waiting. 2. How can you install Playwright in your project? To install Playwright, you can use npm, Node Package Manager. The following command installs Playwright along with its required browser binaries: bash npm install at playwright/test. This installs the Playwright testing library, which includes everything you need to get started. 3. What are the primary languages supported by Playwright? Playwright supports multiple programming languages: JavaScript/TypeScript, Node.js, Python, C#, .NET, Java. Each language has its own official Playwright bindings, making it versatile for different development environments. 4. Explain the architecture of Playwright. Playwright follows a client-server architecture. Client: the test scripts you write in your chosen language, JavaScript, Python, C#, or Java. Server: the Playwright driver that communicates with the browser using WebSockets. Browser: the browser instance that is controlled by the Playwright server. This architecture allows Playwright to control the browser in real time, enabling features like network interception and screenshot capture. 5. What browsers are supported by Playwright? Playwright supports 3 major browser engines. Chromium covers Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. Firefox covers Mozilla Firefox. WebKit covers Apple Safari. These browsers are automatically downloaded and managed by Playwright when you install the package. 6. How do you launch a browser using Playwright? You can launch a browser in Playwright using the launch method. Here's an example using Node. JS, JavaScript const, Chromium, equals require, Playwright, async, equals, const browser equals await Chromium.launch, headless, false, const page equals await browser.new page, await page.goto, https://example.com, await browser.close. This script launches a Chromium browser, opens a new page, navigates to https://example.com, and then closes the browser. 7. What are the differences between launch and launch persistent context methods? Launch launches a new browser instance with a fresh profile, which is ephemeral and discarded after the browser is closed. Launch persistent context launches a browser with a persistent context, meaning the browser's state, cookies, local storage, is retained between sessions. Example: JavaScript // using launch persistent context const Chromium equals require Playwright async equals const user data dar equals /user_data const context equals await Chromium. Launch persistent context user data dar headless false const page equals await context.new page await page.goto https://example.com await context.close. In this example, the user_data directory will store the browser state across sessions. 8. Explain the concept of browser context in Playwright. A browser context in Playwright is akin to an incognito or private browsing session within a browser. It allows for isolated sessions that do not share cookies, local storage, or session storage with other contexts. Multiple browser contexts can run within the same browser instance, enabling parallel execution of tests. Example: JavaScript const Chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await Chromium.launch const context 1 equals await browser.new context const context 2 equals await browser.new context const page 1 equals await context 1.new page await page 1.goto https://example.com const page 2 equals await context 2 new page await page 2.goto https://example.com await browser.close. In this example, context 1 and context 2 are isolated from each other. 9. How do you open a new page in Playwright? To open a new page, you first need to create a browser context, or use the default context, and then create a page within that context. JavaScript const Chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await Chromium.launch const context equals await browser.new context const page equals await context.new page await page.goto https://example.com await browser.close. This example shows how to open a new page and navigate to a URL. 10. How do you close a browser or page in Playwright? To close a page or browser, you can use the close method. JavaScript const Chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await Chromium.launch const context equals await browser.new context const page equals await context. New page await page.goto https://example.com await page.close // closes the page await context.close // closes the context await browser.close // closes the browser. In this example, the page, context, and browser are all closed in sequence. These examples cover the basics of Playwright, including its setup, key concepts, and how to perform essential operations like launching browsers, managing contexts, and handling pages. As you progress, you can explore more advanced features and integrate Playwright into your testing workflow. Selectors and elements in Playwright. Selectors and elements are fundamental to interacting with web pages in Playwright. Here's a detailed explanation with code examples for each of the points you mentioned. 11. What are Playwright selectors, and how do they work? Playwright selectors are used to locate elements on a web page. They work similarly to CSS selectors but are more powerful, offering additional methods to target elements based on attributes, text content, visibility, etc. CSS selector, page.locator, button hashtag submit, text selector, page.locator, text equals login, XPath selector, page.locator, / button, text equals submit, role selector, page.locator, role equals button, name equals submit, 12. How do you interact with elements using Playwright, click, type, etc.? You can interact with elements using methods like click, fill, type, check, select option, etc. JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https://example.com / click a button await page.locator button hashtag submit click / type into an input field await page.locator input name equals username type my user / fill an input field await page.locator input name equals password fill my password await browser.close 13. What is the difference between locator and element handle in Playwright? Locator represents a reference to a DOM elements and can perform multiple actions. It's lazy, meaning it doesn't perform actions until explicitly needed. It automatically waits for the element to be available. Element handle represents a handle to a specific element. Unlike locator, it is a one-time reference to the element. Example, JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example.com / using locator lazy evaluation auto waiting const button locator equals page.locator button hashtag submit await button locator click / using element handle direct reference no auto waiting const button handle equals await page button hashtag submit await button handle click await browser close 14. How can you wait for an element to appear in Playwright? Playwright provides methods to explicitly wait for elements, like wait for selector, wait for timeout, and wait for function. JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example.com / wait for a specific element to appear await page. Wait for selector button hashtag submit await page.locator button hashtag submit click await browser.close 15. Explain the role of the has text and has attribute selectors in Playwright. Has text filters elements based on their text content. Has attribute filters elements based on an attribute value. Example, JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example com / click a button that contains the text submit await page.locator button has text submit click / find an element with a specific attribute const element equals await page.locator input has page.locator name equals username await element.fill my user await browser.close 16. How do you handle dynamic elements with changing attributes in Playwright? Dynamic elements can be handled using Playwright's flexible selector options such as partial match selectors or waiting for the element state to stabilize. JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example.com / handle elements with dynamic IDs or classes await page.locator id equals dynamic ID click await browser.close 17. How can you handle dropdowns and checkboxes in Playwright? Dropdowns can be handled using the select option method and checkboxes can be checked using the check method. JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example.com / select an option from a dropdown await page.locator select hashtag dropdown select option value 1 / check a checkbox await page.locator input type equals checkbox check await browser.close 18. What are frame locators in Playwright and how do you use them? Frame locators allow you to interact with elements inside of frames. You can use frame locator to locate elements within a specific frame. JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example com / interact with an element inside in a frame const frame equals page.frame locator a frame hashtag myframe await frame.locator button hashtag submit click await browser.close 19. How do you handle shadow DOM elements in Playwright? Playwright supports shadow DOM elements with the locator API using peer selectors to dig into shadow roots. JavaScript const chromium equals require Playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https:/ example.com / locate an element inside shadow DOM const shadow element equals page.locator css equals element with shadow DOM shadow root element await shadow element click await browser.close 20. How can you capture screenshots of elements or the entire page? Playwright allows you to capture screenshots of specific elements or the entire page using the screenshot method. JavaScript const chromium equals require playwright async equals const browser equals await chromium.launch const page equals await browser.new page await page.goto https://example.com / screenshot of the entire page await page.screenshot path full page.png full page true / screenshot of a specific element const element equals await page.locator button hashtag submit await element.screenshot path button.png await browser.close. These explanations and code examples provide a solid understanding of how to interact with elements in Playwright, covering common use cases like handling dynamic elements, dropdowns, checkboxes, iframes, shadow DOM, and capturing screenshots. Playwright's powerful selectors and element handling capabilities make it a versatile tool for web automation. Assertions and testing in Playwright. Playwright is a powerful tool for automating web tests, and it comes with a built-in test runner that provides a complete testing framework. This section will cover how to perform assertions, handle test retries, use the trace viewer for debugging, and more. 21. How do you perform assertions in Playwright? Playwright provides built-in assertion methods that you can use to validate various aspects of your web application. These assertions can be used to check if elements are visible, have specific text, or meet other conditions. JavaScript const test expect equals require at playwright/test test basic assertion example async page equals await page.goto https://example.com / assert that the page title is correct await expect page to have title example domain / assert that an element is visible const element equals page.locator h1 await expect element to be visible / assert that an element contains specific text await expect element to have text example domain 22. What are the built-in test runner and its benefits in Playwright? Playwright comes with a built-in test runner at playwright/test, which provides a complete testing framework. The benefits include parallel test execution, run tests in parallel to reduce overall test time. Automatic waiting, automatically waits for elements to be ready before performing actions. Built-in assertions, provides powerful assertions for various conditions. Retry mechanism, automatically retries flaky tests. Test hooks, provides hooks for setup and teardown. Example of using the Playwright test runner, JavaScript / playwright.config.js module.exports equals timeout 30,000 / test timeout retries 2 / number of retries for flaky tests use headless true / run tests in headless mode viewport width 1280 height 720 23. How do you handle test retries and flakiness in Playwright? Playwright's test runner allows you to specify the number of retries for flaky tests. This helps in stabilizing the test suite by rerunning tests that may fail intermittently. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright/test test retry example async page equals await page.goto https://example.com / intentionally flaky test const random equals math.random if random greater than 0.5 throw new error flaky test failed / in playwright.config.js module.exports equals retries 2 / retry the test up to 2 times if it fails 24. What is Playwright's trace viewer and how do you use it for debugging? Playwright's Trace Viewer is a tool that helps you debug test failures by capturing a trace of the test execution, including screenshots, network activity, and DOM snapshots. You can enable tracing in your tests and then view the trace in a visual interface. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright/test test trace viewer example async page context browser equals await context.tracing.start screenshots true snapshots true await page.goto https://example.com await page.click text equals more information await page.wait for timeout 1000 await context.tracing.stop path trace.zip / open the trace viewer via the Playwright CLI / npx playwright show trace.zip 25. How do you handle test data setup and teardown in Playwright? Playwright provides hooks like before all, after all, before each, and after each to handle test setup and teardown. These hooks allow you to set up test data, clean up after tests, and manage test state. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright/test test.before all async equals / global setup console.log global setup test.after all async equals / global teardown console.log global teardown test. Before each async page equals / setup for each test await page.goto https://example.com test.after each async page equals / teardown for each test await page.close test with setup and teardown async page equals / test logic here await page.click text equals more information 26. Explain how to perform visual regression testing using Playwright. Visual regression testing involves comparing screenshots of your application to detect UI changes. Playwright can be used with third-party libraries like Pixelmatch or Resemble.js to perform visual regression tests. JavaScript const test expect equals require at playwright/test const fs equals require fs const pixelmatch equals require pixelmatch const png equals require png.js test visual regression test async page equals await page.goto https://example.com const screenshot equals await page.screenshot / load baseline image const baseline img equals png.sync.read fs Read file sync, baseline.png, const new mg equals png.sync.read, screenshot, const, width, height equals baseline img, const diff equals new png, width, height, const number diff pixels equals pixel match, baseline img.data, new img.data, diff.data, width, height, threshold, 0.1, expect, number diff pixels, .tobe, 0, / pass if no visual difference / save diff image if needed fs.write file sync, diff.png, png.sync.write, diff, 27. How can you run tests in parallel using Playwright? Playwright's test runner can execute tests in parallel by default. You can configure the number of workers to control parallelism. JavaScript // playwright.config.js module.exports equals workers for / number of parallel workers / running the tests / npx playwright test workers equals 428. How do you group tests in Playwright? Tests can be grouped using the describe and it blocks. This helps in organizing tests logically. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright /test test.describe login tests equals test should log in with valid credentials async page equals await page.goto https://example.com/login await page.fill hashtag username user await page.fill hashtag password await page.click button type equals submit await page.wait for selector text equals welcome user test should show an error with invalid credentials async page equals await page.goto https://example.com/login await page.fill hashtag username wrong user await page.fill hashtag password wrong password await page.click button type equals submit await page.wait for selector text equals invalid username or password 29. What is the significance of before all, after all, before each, and after each hooks in Playwright? These hooks provide a way to execute code before or after all tests or each individual test. They are useful for setting up and cleaning up resources like databases, test data, or server states. Before all runs once before all tests. After all runs once after all tests. Before each runs before each test. After each runs after each test. Example, JavaScript const test equals require at playwright /test test.before all async equals console.log global setup test.after all async equals console.log global teardown test.before each async page equals console.log setup before each test await page.goto https://example.com test.after each async page equals console.log teardown after each test example test1 async page equals console.log test1 running test example test2 foot async page equals console.log test2 running 30. How do you mock APIs or network requests in Playwright? Playwright allows you to intercept and mock network requests using the route method. This is useful for testing how your application handles different API responses. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright /test mock API response async page equals await page.route https://api.example.com/data single quote route equals route.fulfill status 200 content type application /json body json.stringify id 1 name mock data await page.goto https://example.com / the application will now use the mocked API response await page.click button hashtag fetch data await expect page.locator text equals mocked data, to be visible. These examples provide a comprehensive overview of how to perform assertions, manage tests, handle retries, debug with trace viewer, set up and tear down test data, perform visual regression, run tests in parallel, group tests, and more in Playwright. The Playwright test runner offers robust features that make it easier to write, organize, and debug automated tests. Advanced features in Playwright. Playwright offers a wide range of advanced features that make it an ideal choice for comprehensive web automation. These include handling file uploads and downloads, dealing with the frames, performing complex mouse and keyboard actions, and much more. Below are explanations of these advanced features along with code examples. 31. How do you handle file uploads and downloads in Playwright? File uploads. To handle file uploads, you can use the setInputFiles method in Playwright. This method allows you to programmatically set the files to be uploaded by a file input element. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright /test file upload example async page equals await page.goto https://example.com/upload / upload a file const file input equals page.locator input type equals file await file input.setInputFiles path /to/your /file.png / verify the file upload await expect page. Locator, text equals file uploaded successfully, to be visible, file downloads. Playwright allows you to handle file downloads by listening for the download event. You can then save the downloaded file to a specific location. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright /test file download example async page equals await page.goto https://example.com/download / initiate the download const download equals await promise.all page.wait for event download page.click hashtag download link / assume this triggers the download / save the downloaded file to a specific location await download.save as path /to/save/file.pdf 32. Explain how to deal with the frames in Playwright. To interact with elements inside a frame, you first need to get the frame using page.frame, and then locate elements within that frame. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright slash test test iframe handling example async page equals await page dot go to https://example.com /iframe // get the iframe element const frame equals page dot frame url / iframe url part / interact with elements inside the iframe const iframe element equals frame dot locator input hashtag name await iframe element dot fill playwright / assert the text inside the iframe await expect frame dot locator h1 dot to have text welcome to the iframe 33. How do you automate mouse and keyboard actions in Playwright? Playwright provides methods to perform mouse and keyboard actions such as click, double-click, hover, drag and drop, type, press, and more. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright slash test test mouse and keyboard actions example async page equals await page dot go to https://example.com / mouse actions const button equals page dot locator button hashtag my button await button dot hover await button. Click / keyboard actions const input equals page dot locator input hashtag my input await input dot click await page dot keyboard dot type playwright await page dot keyboard dot press enter 34. What is Playwright's test isolation and how does it work? Test isolation in Playwright ensures that each test runs in a clean environment, preventing side effects between tests. This is achieved using browser contexts, where each test runs in a new, isolated browser context. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright slash test test isolation example async page equals await page dot go to https:// example.com await page dot context dot clear cookies / clear cookies to ensure isolation / your test logic here test another isolated test async page equals await page dot go to https:// example.com / this test will not be affected by the previous one 35. How do you perform cross-browser testing with Playwright? Playwright supports testing across multiple browsers, Chromium, Firefox, WebKit. You can specify the browser in your test configuration or use the test.use method to run tests across different browsers. JavaScript const test devices expect equals require at playwright slash test test.use browser name Firefox / run test in Firefox test cross-browser test example async page equals await page dot go to https:// example.com await expect page dot to have title example domain / running across multiple browsers using a loop const browsers equals Chromium Firefox WebKit const browser of browsers test.use browser name browser test in $, a browser. Async page equals await page dot go to https:// example.com await expect page dot to have title example domain 36. What are Playwright's handling mechanisms for cookies and local storage? Playwright provides methods to manage cookies and local storage within a browser context. You can set, get, and clear cookies, as well as manipulate local storage. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright slash test handling cookies and local storage async page equals await page dot go to https:// example.com / set a cookie await page dot context dot add cookies name my cookie value domain example.com / get all cookies const cookies equals await page dot context dot cookies console.log cookies / clear cookies await page dot context dot clear cookies / manipulate local storage await page dot evaluate equals a local storage dot set item key value const local storage value equals await page dot evaluate equals local storage dot get item key console.log local storage value 37. How do you test web applications with authentication using Playwright? For testing applications that require authentication, you can either log in programmatically using API requests or fill out the login form directly. You can also persist the authentication state across tests using browser contexts. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright slash test login test example async page equals await page dot go to https:// example.com /login / fill out the login form await page dot fill input name equals username user await page dot fill input name equals password await page dot click button type equals submit / verify login success await expect page dot to have URL https:// example.com /dashboard / save authentication state await page dot context. Storage state, path, auth.json, / reuse authentication state in another test.use, storage state, auth.json, test, authenticated test example, async, page equals, await page. Go to https:// example.com /dashboard, await expect, page.locator, text equals welcome, user, to be visible, 38. How can you use Playwright to automate scenarios with multiple tabs or windows? Playwright allows you to interact with multiple tabs or windows by creating new pages within the same browser context. You can then switch between these pages and perform actions as needed. JavaScript const test equals require at playwright slash test multiple tabs / windows example async page context equals await page dot go to https:// example.com / open a new tab const new page equals await context dot new page await new page dot go to https:// example.com / another dash page / interact with the new tab await new page dot click button hashtag example button / switch back to the original tab await page dot bring to front await page dot click hashtag back to home 39. Explain how to generate and use test reports in Playwright. Playwright can generate various types of test reports, including HTML, JSON, and JUnit XML reports. These reports help in analyzing test results and debugging failures. JavaScript // to generate a report, you can configure the test runner in the playwright.config.js file // playwright.config.js module.exports equals reporter, HTML, output folder, playwright report, JSON, output file, report.json, / run the tests / npx playwright test / you can also use the built-in command to generate and open the HTML report / npx playwright show report 40. What are Playwright's capabilities for mobile device emulation? Playwright allows you to emulate mobile devices by specifying a device descriptor. This enables you to test responsive designs and mobile-specific functionality. JavaScript const test devices equals require at playwright /test / use a built-in device descriptor const iPhone 11 equals devices iPhone 11 test.use. iPhone 11 test mobile emulation example async page equals await page.goto https //example.com await expect page.locator h1 to have text example domain / you can also interact with touch actions, etc. Await page.tap button #mobile button. These examples cover some of the advanced features of Playwright, such as handling file uploads and downloads, interacting with the frames, automating complex mouse and keyboard actions, test isolation, cross-browser testing, managing cookies and local storage, testing authenticated sessions, working with multiple tabs, generating test reports, and mobile device emulation. These features make Playwright a powerful tool for modern web automation. Integration and CI/CD with Playwright. Playwright is a powerful tool for automated testing, and integrating it into CI/CD pipelines can enhance your continuous testing efforts. Below are explanations and code examples that demonstrate how to integrate Playwright with CI/CD pipelines, handle environment variables, use headless mode, run tests in a Docker container, and perform performance testing. 41. How can you integrate Playwright tests with CI/CD pipelines? Integrating Playwright with CI/CD pipelines involves configuring your CI/CD tool, e.g., GitHub Actions, Jenkins, GitLab CI, to run Playwright tests as part of the pipeline. Here's an example using GitHub Actions workflow, .github/workflows/playwright.yml YAML name, Playwright tests on, push, branches, main pull_request, branches, main jobs, test, runs on, Ubuntu latest steps, name, checkout code uses, actions/checkout at v2, name, setup node. JS uses, actions/setup node at v2 with, node version, 16, name, install dependencies run, npm install, name, run Playwright tests run, npx Playwright test explanation, the workflow runs on every push or pull request to the main branch. It sets up a node.js environment, installs dependencies, and runs Playwright tests using the npx Playwright test command. 42. How do you use environment variables in Playwright tests? Environment variables can be used to store sensitive information or configuration settings that vary across environments, e.g., development, staging, production. Example, playwright.config.js javascript / playwright.config.js const config equals use base URL process.env.base_url https /default-url.com module.exports equals config example test. JS JavaScript const test expect equals require at playwright /test test environment variable example async page equals await page.goto process.env.base_url await expect page to have title example domain setting environment variables in local development base_url equals https / staging.example.com npx playwright test in CI/CD set environment variables through the CI/CD tools interface. 43. What is headless mode in Playwright and how is it useful? Headless mode refers to running browser tests without displaying the graphical user interface GUI. This mode is useful for CI environments, where displaying a GUI is unnecessary and can save resources. Example, headless mode JavaScript const test expect equals require at playwright /test test headless mode example async browser equals const context equals await browser.new context headless true const page equals await context.new page await page.goto https example. Await expect page to have title example domain await context.close using headless mode in configuration JavaScript / playwright.config.js module.exports equals use headless true / default to headless mode. 44. How do you run Playwright tests in a Docker container? Running Playwright tests in Docker ensures consistency across different environments. Below is an example of a Docker file that sets up Playwright in a container. Dockerfile #use official node.js image as base from mcr.microsoft.com/playwright focal #set working directory workdir /app #copy package.json and install dependencies copy package.json. Run npm install #copy the rest of the application copy. #run playwright test cmd npx playwright test building and running the Docker container bash #build the Docker image docker build t playwright tests. #run the Docker container docker run rm playwright tests. 45. Explain how to perform performance testing with Playwright. Performance testing in Playwright can be done by measuring page load times, resource requests, and other metrics using the page.metrics and page.evaluate methods. Example, JavaScript const test expect equals require at playwright /test test performance testing example async page equals await page.goto https /example.com const metrics equals await page.evaluate equals json.stringify window.performance.timing console.log metrics const load time equals await page.evaluate equals const load event end navigation start equals window.performance.timing return load event end navigation start console.log page load time load time ms expect load time to be less than 3000 / assert that load time is under 3 seconds. Debugging and troubleshooting in Playwright. Playwright offers multiple tools and techniques to debug and troubleshoot issues in your tests. 46. How can you debug Playwright tests effectively? Playwright provides several debugging features. Playwright Inspector, a GUI tool that allows you to step through your code. Debugging with breakpoints, you can use breakpoints in your IDE. Debug option, run tests with the PUDBug equals 1 environment variable to launch the Playwright Inspector. Example, bash PUDBug equals 1 npx Playwright test. This command will open the Playwright Inspector, allowing you to step through your test. 47. What are common challenges faced while using Playwright, and how can they be resolved? Common challenges, element not found. Sometimes elements are not found due to dynamic content. Use wait for selector, or increase timeouts. Flaky tests, tests may pass or fail inconsistently. Use retries and stabilize tests by handling network requests or waiting for specific events. Timeouts, default timeouts might be too short for certain operations. Resolutions, JavaScript const, test, expect, equals require, at Playwright /test, test, handling dynamic elements, async, page, equals, await page.goto, https:/example.com, await page.wait for selector, text equals loaded element, await expect, page.locator, text equals loaded element, dot to be visible, 48. How do you handle timeouts and asynchronous operations in Playwright? Playwright provides methods to handle timeouts and asynchronous operations. Timeouts, you can set global timeouts in playwright.config.js or set specific timeouts for individual actions. Example, JavaScript const, test, expect, equals require, at Playwright /test, test, handle timeouts, async, page, equals, await page.goto, https:/example.com, timeout, 60,000, / 60 seconds timeout await page.wait for selector, text equals loaded element, timeout, 10,000, / 10 seconds timeout, asynchronous operations, use async/await to handle asynchronous operations. JavaScript test, async example, async, page, equals, await page.goto, https:// example.com, const element equals await page.wait for selector, text equals loaded element, expect, element, dot to be defined, 49. What are the limitations of Playwright compared to other automation tools? Limitations, limited support for legacy browsers. Playwright focuses on modern browsers, so it lacks support for older browsers like Internet Explorer. Steep learning curve for beginners. While Playwright is powerful, it can be more complex to set up and use compared to other tools like Selenium. Community size, the Playwright community is growing but is smaller compared to Selenium/WebDriver. Comparison example, JavaScript / Playwright example for modern browser testing const, test, expect, equals require, at Playwright /test, test, modern browser test, async, page, equals, await page.goto, https:// example.com, await expect, page, dot to have title, example domain, 50. How do you contribute to the Playwright open source project? Contributing to Playwright, fork the repository, start by forking the Playwright repository on GitHub. Clone the fork, clone your fork locally and create a new branch for your changes. Make your changes, implement new features, fix bugs, or update documentation. Run tests, ensure that all tests pass locally before submitting your changes. Create a pull request, once your changes are ready, create a pull request, PR, on GitHub. Example of cloning and creating a branch, bash git clone https://github.com/your-username/playwright.git cd playwright git checkout, b new feature branch run tests, bash npm install npx playwright test submit PR, push your changes to your fork and submit a PR on the Playwright GitHub repository. These explanations and code examples cover the integration of Playwright with CI/CD pipelines, using environment variables, running tests in headless mode, Docker integration, performance testing, debugging, and more. These advanced topics are essential for leveraging Playwright in professional and scalable web automation projects.